And I have the immense pleasure of introducing Sami H. Tripp. So in her essay, Metaphors in the Tradition of the Shaman, the writer Gloria E. Anzaldúa talks about rooting out dead metaphors and summoning a poetry that invigorates our many languages, a poetry that challenges a culture that boxes us into tired concepts, harmful similes, deadening speech. This work, the work of the poet, is therefore communal work, the work of rooting deep into the self in order to make linguistic waves that shape collective thought and action. Sami H. Tripp's poetry engages in this very labor. In their marvelous thesis, a collection of poems entitled Home Far Sick, I feel an intense and intentional listening, a staying close to the birds, sky, stone fruit, and starlight in order to divine the messages that might rewild us. Quote, a church of dragonflies and solitude, where vespers hummed by horned owls come in threes, and little brown bats feast in the fading witchlight, unquote. Witchlight, what a wonderful word. As much as these poems are earthbound and elemental, they're also cosmic, mystical, and ancestral, drawing on oneiromancy, psychopomps, and Slavic and Mayan mythologies to confront immense waves of longing and grief. Indeed, at the center of the book is the shattering energy of loss and a woundedness that is clarified and contained by the poet's devotion to precision. The speakers in these poems endure the death of lovers, brothers, grandmothers, great-grandfathers, all who become, quote, ghosts in the spinal cord. Such losses play out in the wake of a more diffuse but no less present disconnection from ancestral language and lineage. Quote, I inherited this burnt mouth, says the speaker in the title poem. I long for the water, but cannot say river, carry the weight of ancestors' choices, their mass of graves and lost tongues. Sami's poetics is a poetics of intimacy, of intimate mystery, backdropped by a universe in constant motion, one where we find ourselves traveling from the caves of Natunish to a city bar stool where a speaker confronts derealization. All the while, you can feel in these poems a tension between holding and shattering, between the hearth and the fire, and between stillness that, quote, wait to keep us from burning the ones we love, unquote, and release. I don't want to be one piece, says the speaker in the poem. My psychiatrist says I have a real hard time with loss, even if my fractures are painted with gold. Sam, I know the wisdom, the revelations in these poems are hard won. These past few years for so many of us have been at the best unsettling, at worst marked by some of the most difficult losses we've yet to endure. Sam, you have arrived. You are here. In celebration of all you have accomplished, I give your words back to you, words from a question in your own poem. Poet wrestles with the concept of light year. Are we dying on our way through the void, or have we already arrived as a flicker of light, shaped like beasts, shaping the futures on the other side of the ether? Please join me in welcoming to the stage Sami H. Tripp. Yeah, we're gonna want that low. Lower? No, that's good. Yeah, we're here. We're doing it. Yeah, I don't know how if some of you realize just like how literal it is when I say it's kind of unbelievable. You know, I struggle with disassociation, so that's not a new feeling, that feeling of unreality. But at this moment, I mean it in a very surprising way, and that surprise is gratitude. You know, tracing back the moments that led me here to reading
poems, my poems, for you all today. It feels really random to the point of being absurd, but poets love the absurd. Uh, I also want to acknowledge that I'm holding a lot of other feelings right now. On top of gratitude, rage and guilt come to mind. It does feel a little dystopian to be able to read my poems when so many writers and poets in Gaza and Congo and Sudan cannot. And I just want to acknowledge that and hold space for that, as I'm sure we're all trying to hold space for competing feelings at once. That being said, to the poets with me today, it really is such a privilege to read alongside you. To all of the people I have written with, maybe continue to hold each other up long after we get this piece of paper. Thank you for sharing yourselves and your work with me over the last 3 years and for giving me the space to do the same. I want to thank the faculty and staff here, Maider, who was the one to call me and tell me I got in, and who continues to expand my world of poetry in new ways. Brynn's lovely introduction, I was tearing up quite a bit back there. Her support and mentorship throughout the MFA and now as a fellow faculty member, which is super weird. Tim's candor and kindness and encouragement. Jefferson for being so patient, helpful, and holding it all together. And to everyone else who I may not have had a lot of interaction with or worked with too in depth, but know with 100% certainty that you are all what makes the program so welcoming. I'm thankful for my family and friends for being supportive of what I'm doing, even if some of them don't get what I'm doing. And most importantly, I am so thankful to my husband, also named Brian. Thank you for packing up our life and moving halfway across the country with me and trusting that we would be okay. Thank you for telling me the same when I've needed to hear it again and again. There's no one else in the world that I would want by my side, making a life full of surprises, of risks, poetry, and of adventure. Okay, so let's read some sad poems. A lot of my poems deal with loss, being lost, or doing the losing. I've had to fly back to Wisconsin for 2 funerals since moving out here. The first one was my stepbrother, Roman. His second daughter, my niece Maggie, was born with a rare heart condition, and she actually needed to have a heart transplant at 4 months old. And so this poem is my memory of Roman on that day when we found out she was going to get a heart transplant for Roman. For a children's hospital, the walls were still so white, untouched by crayons or jellies or mud. Waiting room heavy and echoless. Waiting because your daughter was born with a broken heart, broken in its size, 5 years worth of ache and cherish stuffed into a cavity that's been earthside just 4 months. How strange to feel joy that another child elsewhere no longer needs theirs. This complicated relief that we all worry is felt too soon, so we wait and wait. And wait clings to the stale air. Midwest Julys are always sticky, but the air feels different at night. Moonlight breaks the humidity, and you can almost see the divide between mist and starline. It's getting late. I need to go. You need a cigarette. Offer to walk me out. We wind through the labyrinthine tile, and I mentally mark my height against the wall. We follow rainbow footprints, or was it a yellow brick road, to the concrete overpass, your Bic, one more flash of light against a sea of fluorescent windows, street lamps, high beams. The flick of the wheel almost soft compared to the rumble of highway outstretched below. I know this isn't fair, but you were always my favorite. Your eyes look out and at nothing, even though the night is busy and fluttering. I decide I can stay the length of a cigarette and try to look at nothing, too. You were good at silences. I never was. I guess that's why you could go fishing. I've heard it's meditative, but I never could get past the idea of being unable to breathe. Maybe it's because I know what it's like to drown, even without a hook through your cheek. Stillness. And you never took more than what you needed. I tell you, she'll be just fine. You know. Thank me for being there. Hug me. When I remember you then, enjoying a cigarette, waiting for the world to end or begin. So it may come as no surprise, but I have been in and out of therapy a lot. And yes, to all my therapy peeps out there. Um, One of the last psychiatrists I had at the end of our initial session to determine a pathway of care told me the groundbreaking, "You seem to have a real hard time with loss." And at the time I nodded, but what a stupid effing for the children out there. What a stupid effing thing to say. So this poem came from that interaction. My psychiatrist says I have a real hard time with loss. Could you push your thumb gently into the soft spot that I refuse to mend? I fear the emptying. I don't want to be one piece, even if my fractures are painted with gold. I want each movement I make with our songs to rattle along, each step the twinkle of broken glass, each sigh to splinter and crack like wood under the axe. This body holds bruised bones and other parts. Present it like a cat gift at the edge of the bed, broken and unsure if I'm still alive, but at least I can still hang on to the pieces. I think I'm going through all the poems you mentioned today. Yeah, so I mentioned dissociation and derealization. One of my oldest friends writes articles about the music scene in Spokane, and one, he talks about Adam Duritz, of all people. He's the lead singer of Counting Crows. But in the article, I find out that Duritz also has DDD, depersonalization derealization disorder. And so reading his descriptions felt really familiar, and this poem then came out as a sort of conversation with Duritz and or other people who struggle with feeling real in their own bodies. So along the edge of where. When you sit unbodied on a bar stool, craning your neck to the lover on your left, to listen to them laugh too loudly at nothing, do you ever reach out to touch them? Do you rest a hand on their knee, imagine the muscle and marrow beneath your palm and sigh, yes, this must be, this must be? Do you pinch yourself to keep from dreaming, knowing each daydream is a door that may lock behind you? What does it feel like for you when you look at them through a mirror, when they come up behind you to hold you to their chest? Do you wish for these moments to last forever, moments belonging to you when memories do not? When you ask others if they've ever felt this emptying, or if they see the slits of cloud in the corners of your eyes, did you ever stop talking when they said no? Is it more like fogged glass than a cloud, a strip of gauze pulled taut against the light? What triggers memories, and how do you decipher which ones must be real? Yes, this must be, this must be. Do you remember dancing, body billowing, a murmuration of starlings in a red dress? Was spinning once enough to fell the body onto the sticky bar floor, a hand reaching to pull you back into the night? How many times have you spun in the silence of abstraction? How many hands? So, little confession, I took one of those 23andMe tests. I was interested to find out more about my dad's side of the family, specifically his biological father. My dad found out long after the man was dead and buried, and I never got to ask my grandma about it, because by the time I found out, she had died in Seattle on my 15th birthday. So I used the fact I took one of these tests, as well as my complicated relationship with my paternal side, as the inspiration for what Torinate Greathouse calls a burning hyben. So this is 23andMe results in a drowning hyben. I spit in a tube to find out more about him, one of two grandfathers I never had the chance to meet. The one my dad didn't either, just driving too fast down a highway late at night on the way to see the headstone of a father he could never have. Does this count as meeting? I never ask. I just spit and spit and spit and spit, watch the bubbles foam to the top. Grandma and I share anniversaries. When I turned 15, she stopped turning. Dad came home early, a bucket of bones in one arm, the other compressed under his new orphaning. My dad's side of the family oceans, unexplored, deep, and dying. I'm not afraid of drowning, but maybe I should be. I've done it twice, and third time's the charm, or is it 3 strikes? Both times my dad saved me. I wonder if he remembers or if he blocks those times out. Like when I told my dad about the boy at the bus stop with his hand over my mouth, gun at my nape, and 2 weeks later, dad asked me to hold his new gun. I couldn't. The weight of it stung my eyes. My dad was born on the cusp of cancer, the year we landed on the moon, his ruling planet. Nurturing, loyal, but moody, quick to withdraw without warning. They say carcinization is inevitable. My family has always reached for the sea, and I am going under one way or another. I get the results back: salt water, sea foam, pond scum, coral bleaching, lilies, whale fall. Mm, Me having issues on my phone, the highlighting is not showing up. I spit in a tube to find out father never had one too late. He could never ask. I just spit and spit and spit and spit. Watch the bubbles foam. A bucket of bones. This is really difficult on here. Compressed under new oceans. I'm getting there. Unexplored, deep and dying. I'm not afraid, but I saved embers of my fear. When I told dad about the boy at the bus stop with his gun, the weight of it. My dad, born on the cusp of the moon, nurturing, loyal, but moody, quick to withdraw without warning, inevitable, reached for the sea. I'm sea foam, coral, scum lilies. Spit and spit and spit, bones unexplored, deep and dying, the weight of sea foam. You got there. Thank you. So there's a lot of mirroring in my poems, and here are two titled Sister Cities. One is a reflection of a vivid memory I share with one of my sisters. The other is that between my abuela and her own sister, who my mother very much resembles. Sister Cities. Remember sitting on our bed of pine needles, sinking teeth into the warmth of chocolate cookies. I can still feel the melt coating my mouth, but October slips my mind every year. When I come home, it still feels like we are waiting for someone to pick us up, take us back. I come home once a year. And who else understands the autumn air, its promise someone is coming back for us, or that the promise is the prize? I do not want to write a poem marking your absence any more than you desire watercolor to capture mine. Let us keep creating and promising until the very last chocolate chip washes away and each pine needle melts into the earth beneath our waiting. A mother reaches for her daughter's face, only to find her sister cupped in her weathered palms. The powdery smell of hospice and the faint waking of robins are sibylline memories, foretold by an egg under her January bed. She feels her sister rest her forehead to hers, and for a moment they both close their eyes. The sapayul clinging to their hair fills her nose with shaking suspiration. A choir of macaws and trogons and pigeons and warblers are joined by the slowing percussion of a train's arrival. They are headed for Copan. A mother reaches for her sister's hand, whispers, "We have to go." A daughter squeezes her mother's hand, wonders where they are going. This is one that I've read at every reading so far, so I figured I'd just keep going with it. It's about the frustration and grief of not only losing my grandma, all her knowledge and stories, and her connection to Ishimulu, which is so-called Guatemala, but also me being the only one that could even try and translate while she was on her deathbed. So, La Muerte habla español. When death comes, she speaks Spanish, grita in grandmother, and replaces the viaticum on the lips when English no moverá la lengua. I say it's okay to speak in Spanish, estás bien, but then abuela can't stop, estás bien. It rolls her out of bed the same way it rolls her R's, estás bien. When I visit, I listen in Spanish. I'm the only one who knows how now. So when she cannot lay still, I know it's because she's seeing her. I am still trying to understand Spanish because the longest conversation we've ever had in native tongues should not have been over a deathbed. And when death comes and she speaks to me in Spanish, I want to hold the enya against my palate, a balm to heal from 2 generations of neglect, hungry ghost under the floor of my mouth. So this is the last one. So part of the loss in my work is that of ancestors and of my roots. And for me, trying to reconnect, it's been especially difficult when trying to reconnect with my Maya ancestors. My family were Ladino, which is to say Hispanicized, indigenous peoples. This poem, which translates to Deer Dance, is about the precariousness of reconnecting, but how you have to at least try. Danza del Venado. Gods with names long forgotten, names my clumsy and starving tongue can only growl out of hunger. This hunter knows not the sacred rites of deer. I can wear their horns but cannot bleat their prayers. Instead, I move as a butcher, heavy hoofed, twice removed, hacking at scraps and gnawing on gristle. Gods with names I yearn to know, names I hold space for behind each eye and tooth. I dance history books and stumble mistranslation in awful memory. I know not the sacred stories of deer, point cervine haunches cloudward. Gods with names of ash and timber, this hunter seeks the unfiltered taste of home. I know not the sacred dance of deer, but bow my neck open, hoping, even if I may die hungering. Thank you.